Welcome everyone today in the room and over at Zoom. And we are very fortunate today to have with us Ikaro Beraldo. He is from Stockholm University and is currently working on neuromodulatory circuits of the brain in Pollack Dorschwitz lab. And he will share his knowledge and experience with sleep hygiene and habits from his time working in the lab of Professor Clayton Lopez Aguilar doing research on sleep and memory. Very much welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. So thank you everyone for being here. I think it's going to be a really nice talk. Let's discuss all this important stuff. And I'm here to talk about sleep hygiene and the habits around the sleep hygiene. And first of all, a little disclaimer. I'm not a medical professional. So I'm here to give you some practical strategies for better sleep hygiene, better habits around it. But it's important to know that, of course, this is based on the scientific literature, but nothing that I say here replace the care from a health professional. So if you feel the need, go to a doctor, it's important. And what is sleep hygiene? It's a bit of a weird term, like hygiene, but just like the physical hygiene to keep you clean and free of infections and etc. Sleep hygiene, it's a set of routines and habits that improve your sleep and as a consequence, your life in general. So it's not only about the hours that you sleep, which I think it's the thing that people mostly discuss, but it's about the environment that you sleep, the routines that you create, the small choices that you make throughout the day, and the consistency to these routines and these choices. And these choices that you make will improve your mood, focus on work or hobbies. Why not? And improve your energy levels and especially long-term health, since a bad sleep comes with a greater risk of heart diseases, metabolic diseases, and mental health disorders. And let's talk first about the hours of sleep. That's, I think, what most people know about. It's most discussed on TV and on internet. And the first question is, for how long should you sleep? And in average, human adult should sleep around 8 hours a day, but there is a range of 6 to 9 hours that most people are in this range. And this is influenced by genetic factors. You can't train yourself to need less sleep or to need more sleep. I don't know. But yeah, and if you're the kind of person that sleeps 5.5 hours daily or 5 maybe, and it's, oh, I'm fine, I don't feel anything wrong, probably you just don't notice. And if you did, if you could sleep more, then you would notice some differences in your life. And because you would be a very rare person to only need 5.5 hours of sleep daily. And at which time should I sleep? It's another thing. And it's also based on genetic factors that generates the different types of chronotypes. So you have basically 3 types of chronotypes: the morning people, the evening people, and the intermediary people. And this creates a range of hours at the one you should start sleeping and the one you should wake up. And when I say should, it's not like you have to, but it's more or less a range that should be respected based on your chronotype. And there are some ways to understand your chronotype. I'll talk a bit more about that later. But you see, morning type people are the ones that go to sleep earlier, wake up earlier, are more productive in the morning. Evening types, people that go a bit later, and intermediary, which are most of the people in general. People are like intermediary chronotype people. Uh, they are in the middle of these things. And usually it's good to respect your chronotype. And let's talk about like the common sleep disruptors that we face in our lives, usually. And the first one, the very first one, it's irregular sleep schedule, because our body is made of internal clocks. Like every cell that has a nucleus has an intrinsic clock, and all these intrinsic clocks synchronize, create the body internal clocks. So we are cyclic living beings. We live in a cycle that repeats daily. So this cycle creates our sleep patterns. They create our chronotypes, our necessities for sleep. And these internal clocks are modulated by external stimuli, such as the time that you go to sleep, what you are being exposed throughout the day. So it's good to have a regular sleep schedule, because it takes a bit of a time for your body to get used to the time that you're waking up, the time that you're going to sleep. So if one day you go to sleep later and then you wake up earlier and you do a different thing each day, your body won't have time to get used to this new schedule. It gets harder, because then let's say you slept later a specific day, then your body, it's like expecting for you to do the same the next day, and then you have to work on Monday. So it's a bit difficult for you to get used. So some tips for that: try to go to sleep and wake up at the same time every day. It's a bit insane maybe to say that, but if you do that consistently, few exceptions shouldn't be a problem. So if you do that consistently, maybe on a weekend, you want to party later, or even on weekdays, like why not invite me? I would like to try. And if your body is used to this sleep schedule, then naturally it will go back to this sleep schedule, even if you throw in an exception. And it's nice also to define a bedtime routine in which you create some habits before going to sleep, like stretching, like doing some relaxing stuff, reading a book, not scrolling your phone. I'm going to talk a little bit about that, because then it trains your brain about what is expected to do after you do all these things, which is to go to sleep. And the next common sleep disruptor is screen time and artificial light. I think every one of us like take our cell phones and scroll in the evening before going to sleep, most people at least. And this is a problem, because there is this hormone that everyone have heard about, which is melatonin. It's produced by the pineal gland, and it has like a cyclical just because I need to show that. It has like a cyclical pattern. It increases at nighttime, decreases in daytime. And some people associate this hormone to the capacity of going to sleep, like gets you like a bit sleepy and you go easily to the sleep state. But actually, melatonin has a much more simpler function, which is to indicate to your body that it's nighttime. So what your body does with this information is even species specifically. So if you do not follow like a specific routine, melatonin won't help you. And considering that, and the fact that melatonin is important to inform to your body that it's nighttime, it's a bit difficult for your body to go to sleep if you're exposed to light, because one of the mechanisms to stop the production of melatonin is light, because you're supposed to not have melatonin during daytime, which is when you have light, right? So, scrolling on your phone, watching TV, working, maybe reading emails, being exposed to artificial light and eye lamps and etc. will delay the production of melatonin. So you're expected to have a peak of melatonin at roughly 3 a.m. on like the intermediary chronotype people. But if you delay this production, now you're gonna have like a peak at around the time that you should wake up. So not only you're delaying the onset of sleep, now your body is understanding that it's nighttime when it's actually daytime. You should be waking up and going to work. So a few tips regarding that, like limit the screen use at least 1 hour before bed. It's good, like if you could limit a bit before. Use blue light filters, like on Windows, on Mac, you can find like night mode. You just search that and you're gonna find these filters. Your screen gets a bit orange, yellowish, because the blue light is especially the part of the spectrum that activates retina cells that indirectly will block the production of melatonin. And try to do screen-free activities, as I said before, like stretching, meditation, maybe, to prepare your brain for the sleep period. Now, about substances like caffeine, nicotine, and alcohol. I choose these three because I think most people will be exposed to them on every now and then, or even on a daily basis. And like caffeine and nicotine are stimulants of the nervous central system, and they delay the sleep onset. And alcohol is a depressant of the nervous central system, and you might have heard like, oh, I drink alcohol. Maybe you have experienced that I drink alcohol and then I go to sleep a bit easier. I feel relaxed and it's easier for me to go to sleep. Yeah, because you have a depressed nervous system, but the quality of your sleep will not be the same. Actually, you need, in a way, an active nervous system for the sleep quality to be good. So actually, you have a lighter sleep, a less restorative sleep when you drink alcohol and any other depressant of the nervous system. And a few tips about that, about caffeine. For instance, avoid caffeine at least 5 hours before, 6 hours before bedtime. That's based on the half-life of caffeine in your bloodstream. Nicotine, 3 hours before bedtime. And I know like caffeine 6 hours before bedtime sounds a bit difficult, especially when you're working, maybe that cup of coffee, like the end of the work shift. But it's not the ideal, because even if you don't notice any difference in your sleep, like you still can go to sleep. Like I've heard a lot of people saying, I drink coffee at night and I sleep fine. And yeah, like you go to sleep, but your sleep is not fine. It's actually a like bad quality sleep. Because all these mechanisms, internal mechanisms, won't work as intended. And keep the alcohol consumption, like this limit, it's a bit arbitrary, but like don't sleep drunk. That's the idea. And this, it's like it's gonna feel like some bullshit, I'm sorry. But when you're sleep deprived, avoid caffeine, in the sense that you didn't sleep well. Okay, you need to work, I understand. But caffeine won't solve your problems. Actually, it make it worse, since now you're like impairing your next sleep period. Actually, you should give what your body needs, which is to sleep. If you're thirsty, what you do, you drink water. You don't drink coffee. Like, good? I don't know, sorry. But you don't do that. So if you're sleepy, you sleep. Like, of course, if it's necessary to drink caffeine, like for you to get that final work going on, well, yeah, but try to improve all the other habits for everything to work fine. So stress and anxiety, it's a bit difficult, especially where we are. Like, it's a bit complicated, I understand. And the problem with that is that stress and anxiety increases cortisol and norepinephrine levels, both substance molecules that increase the activity of brain areas that creates this arousal state. So you get racing thoughts, get a hyperactive brain, and even if you take melatonin, if you have like I think it's hard to have a sleep schedule, even like that, you won't be able to sleep because now you have a very active brain thinking about the experiments the next day, maybe a seminar that you have to present. Was not my case. Okay. So at first, like, seek professional help if you feel like it, because there are a few tips, of course, for you to like relieve stress and anxiety, but seek professional help. Before sleep, practice relaxation techniques like meditation, stretching, deep breathing, and throughout the day, be physically active, exercise. So you get tired and you won't be as stressed, and it also helps your body understand that it's daytime, so it has like a clear separation. When it's nighttime, you do all these other things, and when it's daytime, you do things that show to your body that is daytime. And the last one, I think it's more obvious to have a comfortable sleep environment, to keep it cool, dark, quiet, right? For you to not have an impaired sleep moment. Like mattress and pillows are comfortable and etc. Because you don't want to wake up at night. Like, you want your sleep to be as continuous as possible for it to be restorative. Some people like don't notice that they are waking up and they feel tired, even though they slept like 9 hours, 8 hours. Maybe that's a problem, like some micro arousals during the night. And I talked a bit about that, like all these tips that I gave you before are related to the fact that you need to show to your body when it's nighttime, to inform it that it's nighttime, so it's prepared to go to sleep. So decrease this exposition to light and some relaxation routines. But, oh, sorry, you also need to inform to your body when it's daytime. You remember, like melatonin, you have to keep it low during daytime. So expose yourself to natural. Now we can do that, right? Because it helps lowering the levels of melatonin. You keep the cycle going on and be physically active, like aerobic exercises. And it also helps with stress and anxiety. And some myths about sleep that I would like to debunk. Like, I think maybe you've heard some of them. Like, you can catch up on sleep over the weekend. Like, you can definitely sleep more in the weekend if you sleep deprived, but that won't solve your problems because the next week everything will happen again, and the next weekend you'll be sleep deprived, and the weekdays you won't function as that properly. So it's better to have a defined sleep schedule. More sleep is always better. No, actually, if it's not necessary for you to have that many sleep hours, actually you may feel worse. So respect your necessity. Like if you wake up, leave bed, and go on with your life. Drink alcohol helps you sleep, as I told you. Yeah, like relax you a little bit, you go to sleep a bit easier, but your sleep will not be that good as it could. Watching TV, scrolling on your phone helps you relax before bed. You have the light problem, and you also have like the arousal, like the arousal mind state in which gets a bit harder for you to go to sleep. Like watching reels on Instagram. And if you can't sleep, stay in bed until you do. That's a problem because actually you're training your brain to associate the bed, like the place that you should be sleeping, with being waking up, thinking about all the things that you should do in the next day. Snoring is harmless. It's harmless. Actually, maybe you could have sleep apnea and you just don't know. Actually, this is very like lots of people have that, like sleep well, have a good amount of sleep, but still feel tired the next day, probably because sometimes the person stop breathing at night and wake up without like regaining all the conscious and just don't notice. So look for professional health if you feel like that. um Older adults need less sleep. Actually, they need the same as young adults. They just can't control these mechanisms that create the sleep pressure. Like the melatonin concentration on the blood decreases as you grow older, so it gets hard for you to control your sleep cycles, but the necessity is the same. So it's even more important as you grow older to keep these routines going on. And taking melatonin will solve, all your sleep problems. No, it might help. In some cases, maybe like with jet lag, it helps. When you have sun all day around, it will probably help, but like in these specific cases. And that's it, the reflection and discussion questions. And if I invite you all to ask questions and discuss.